trip started with fine weather. Launching at Moulds Bay on Quadra Island is always a bit of a challenge because you can only get out easily at higher tides, and then it turns into a boulder field. Then the breeze died off, so I had quite hot weather, and I found myself south end of Reed Island and then over toward Hill Island, seeking some shade to cool down in. My planned destination for night one was the south end of the Penn Island group. There was a campsite identified on the map there, but when I arrived I found it was not suitable and it was in full sun. So by sheer serendipity I found a site on the adjacent land of Reed Island, and it was a fine beach with a little campsite carved out of the woods behind. My destination for day 2 was a beach midway along Lewis Channel. This would require rounding Bullock Bluff, the northeast tip of Cortes Island, which is the end of a bluff-dominated narrow peninsula. Multi-directional tidal currents in combination with northwest winds can make this bit of the coast quite wild, which I have paddled on past trips. My plan this time was to round Bullock Bluff during the slack tide period midday, and as a bonus the northwest winds were forecast to die off in late morning. So I first headed across the channel, across the direction of winds, and spent a few hours exploring that part of Cortes. Despite sharing this cove with eerie human junk, this swim was exquisite. Warm, crystal clear, perfect conditions, and I wished I could have stayed longer.
Campsite on Lewis Channel.
After a hot and sunny paddle, my first priority on landing was a swim, and it's so great to cool off. That evening, the wind whipped up quite ferociously off of Lewis Channel, and my tent was whipped around a fair amount. But in the morning, the wind wasn't too bad, and I headed off with the wind behind me, sailing me along at a pretty good clip into Teakerne Arm. My challenge for day 4 was to replenish my water reserves en route to my next camp. Once out of Teakerne Arm, I aimed for a cove on West Redonda Island where the map showed a stream exiting from a lake in the hills above.
Another windy day, heading out of Teakerne Arm.
Just around midday, I landed in a cove of West Redonda Island, where there should have been a stream from Thompson Lake, from which I'd hoped to collect fresh water. Unfortunately, the stream bed was totally dry. I followed the stream bed up through the forested mountain slope, thinking I could at least get water from the lake, but wearing only paddling footwear and shorts, the final 200 meters of thick bush was too much. Consequently, I changed my route plan and decided to head over to Squirrel Cove on Cortes Island, where I felt I could replenish water at the store. We had a fun meetup on the beach, chatting for over a half hour, and then agreeing to join up in our paddling south along Cortes so that Sebastian could get some familiarity with the terrain and with the waves. He had just launched for a week-long venture and was carrying too much water, which was fortuitous for me because I could take some of it to give me a couple days worth. After overnighting at the same beach, Sebastian and I parted company in the morning as we headed off on our own directions. As we prepared to depart, Sebastian reminded me that he had offered to acquire my kayak and I had offered it to him for free when I was past the age of paddling.
See you when you're 90?
Or hopefully before.
Oh yeah, actually. Yeah, but on that video.
When you come to watch videos.
Yeah.
All right.
And we will, with a kayak, we will go explore and be pirates. We will have camp everywhere.
Excellent idea.
Our dream.
The best camp of all will be in that secret cove that I told you
course.
about.
I know it.
We
See you when you're 90?
Yeah, come by and see me. I'll be watching videos.
Yeah. Cuckoo.
Hanks Beach is a really pretty spot, but as a park, a local park, it has public access from the upland side, and so not ideal for camping, but I chose a spot just below the high tide line, so technically it was out of the park and in the public domain of the foreshore. The plan for day 6 was to get around the bouldery end of Cortes Island, stop for water at Smelt Bay Park on Cortes, and then head across to Marina Island just off the west coast of Cortes Island.
Look at here. A kayak camper.
Having arrived midday on Marina Island and finding my chosen camp location to be perfect, I spent a couple of hours in the afternoon beachcombing and exploring the shoreline. Marina Island, named for a woman by the Spanish explorers over 200 years ago, is privately owned but unoccupied. The shoreline is mostly gravels, but one feature I found really intriguing. Along the southeast shore, the boulders are often clustered or seemingly arranged, but I could think of no cultural or industrial purpose for this.
Walking the shore of Marina Island. Look at this cool driftwood. I'd love to have that in the yard. Oh man. Look at that. Oh man. the wreck site at the head of Carrington Bay.
As a local park with both hiker access and several anchoring boats, this camp location was busier than I preferred, but I was the only camper and I enjoyed pleasant conversations with several passers-by. There's a tidal lagoon and an excavated channel to explore here as well. Evidently, a spider and web were caught by my 360 camera as I walked this path, so the footage is not at its best. Day 8 would take me back to my launch site, but along the way I had to play the tides just right. I sought low tide for a mid-morning landing on Reed Island, where the beaches are bouldery at higher tides. More importantly, I also wanted to land at Village Bay on Quadra Island to be able to use the freshwater pool there for a final swim. Finally, to finish the trip at Molds Bay, I needed the tide to be reasonably full. Nice little sand lens, perfect. Final port of call. Open bay.